the ground running.
Something went wrong. All right. Try to get chat up. Chat pop up. Properties. See if this works. There it goes. All right. Okay. All right, let's start off with the stream. Back again. Missed last week because of the face reveal. But yeah. All right, so today we have, what do we have to talk about? Aside from like some news in Canada, right? We got the Montreal Rim opening tomorrow officially, which is pretty cool. Yeah, but I'm not really gonna talk about that much today, other than some of the stuff that I've found in the news last week or this week. Some of the stuff I missed last week too. Um, yeah, so we have Charlotte Light Rail. Charlotte's Light Rail is getting longer, or possibly, who knows. There's a new sales tax that just got passed, and which means that, you know, more funding towards more rail projects in Charlotte. So that means that we could probably get more light rail around that region, which is pretty cool. And they're planning on having a new commuter rail line, so that's also pretty cool. So yeah, let's see what this means. What does this mean for Charlotte?
Local leaders are hitting the ground running one day after voters approved a transit sales tax to fund road, rail, and bus projects across Mecklenburg County. It comes at a good time after a recent study found the average car commuter in the city spends 64 hours per year stuck in traffic. Queen City News reporter Caroline Boyer tells us what's next to alleviate the congestion.
The first step is for CATS officials to start holding public meetings to get an idea of the projects community members want to see funded in different neighborhoods. The hope is Charlotteans will start to see bus improvements within the next 5 years and rail expansion within the next 10, all of which will help relieve traffic on the roads, too.
I know that we're going to build.
I know there was something they were planning on expanding the Charlotte streetcar And then people were kind of like, I don't know, because the Charlotte streetcar is pretty slow, and because, well, it's slow because it's a streetcar. You know, it runs, it makes traffic, it does the whole nine. So I don't know if that's actually gonna happen, but I do know. Well, well, it's probably gonna happen, but I don't think it's really on their priority, like their priority list. But I do know what they're gonna do. They are gonna extend the light rail, which is pretty cool, and they're gonna build that commuter rail line. I think it's called the Red Line or something like that, which is also gonna be really good. And it's gonna be using the new like main Charlotte train station that Amtrak is also moving to.
Build a greater city, a city that people want to choose to live here and be here.
A vote to transform
What's
the
up,
future
Ryan?
of transportation in Mecklenburg County.
Sets this community out to address major issues that we have, dealing with how do we handle 159 individuals every day moving to the city of Charlotte.
Newly re-elected council members are thrilled. More than 92,000 voters approved a 1% sales tax, expected to generate billions over the next few decades. It narrowly passed, with about 48% of voters against it.
Specifically for me, I was voting against because I don't feel we will get a return off of that investment through all the taxes that we will be paying.
Now that it's approved, the tax will go into effect in October of 2026, and leaders expect to start collecting revenue by January 2027. 20% will go toward funding bus projects, 40% for road, and another 40% for rail projects. One of the most notable plans,
All right, here we go.
the creation of the Red Line commuter.
All right, so here's the Red Line commuter rail. Unfortunately, they're blocking it off with this bottom third. But so Charlotte's down here. You see some of the light rail right here, and then this is the commuter rail that's going to be going all the way up. So that's pretty nice. I think that I'm not sure exactly what they're gonna do, like rolling stock wise. Honestly, like this project is like years out, right? So we're gonna get a new commuter rail line in the U.S., which is pretty nice. But this project is like not even years. I want to say like decades, probably. I feel like they could probably complete this project if they were actually like planning it like properly and doing the actual, like creating an actual person to oversee this project and not just kind of like winging it, which a lot of, you'd be surprised, but a lot of transit authorities often do. Then I feel like this could definitely be done within like the next 15 years, maybe even 10. If it was like within the next 10 years, there's a bunch of commuter rail, a bunch of like regional rail and commuter rail agencies that are retiring their equipment. So that could be really useful. You can just pick up the equipment from them and then start off a really basic service. And then, further, plan out their service a little bit more.
Rail.
A long-awaited project will finally move forward. Now, we know that the Red Line is not going to happen overnight. It will take time, commitment, patience, and a lot of hard work.
Potential rail projects include building the Silver Line light rail from Charlotte Douglas International.
Hard work.
Potential rail.
And then here goes the Silver Line light rail, which is interesting. The Silver Line light rail it's almost, because you can see the Gold Line. The Gold Line is the streetcar. I called it the Charlotte streetcar, but it's really like the streetcar. And so, but then you have the Silver Line, which I'm not really sure if it's like they're going to use the same tracks or like what's really going to go on right there. It's like the only problem with the Gold Line is that it doesn't have its own dedicated right of way. Like meaning like even if it was dedicated, but it was in like a median of a street, that would be pretty useful. But this runs in mixed traffic, so it's just not that fast, and it gets stuck behind cars and behind like red lights and all that type of stuff. So it's really just not that. It's basically a bus. Let's be real. And so I'm not sure exactly what they're planning to do with this Silver Line. But yeah.
Projects include building the Silver Line light rail from Charlotte Douglas International to Bojangles Coliseum, as well as the Blue Line extension to Pineville and the Gold Line streetcar expansion, all of which will take the longest to accomplish. Drivers, riders, and pedestrians should begin to see road and bus improvements sooner than that.
This means that we have to do a lot more work. This means that we have to listen to the residents in every neighborhood so that they can shape what opportunity that they want to have. Today, we're beginning to take that action, that we are going to do things. You are going to see sidewalks. You are going to see pathways. You're going to be able to see all kinds of activities.
Amtrak does run by the airport, so that's pretty useful. I think it's because they basically already used the blue line to get to the airport. And so, right, I think it's the blue line to get to the airport. I think it splits off into branches, if I'm not mistaking it with Baltimore. I don't know why. I always mistake the two light rails together between Baltimore and Charlotte, but I'm pretty sure Charlotte goes to the airport. Let me see. Chat, does Charlotte go to the airport? Does Charlotte light rail go to the airport already? Do they or no? No, it doesn't. Not yet. Yeah. Okay. So, well, I mean, it could. So, in the future, right? I think the Amtrak right away is the easiest way, or you can just build the the commuter rail line out that direction. But I know with Charlotte, with the right of way for the commuter rail, the red line, that has been bought by North Carolina or like somebody. Like it's not like I think that's being bought by like the government or something like that. So I'm not really sure how much, how easy it's going to be to build on CSX right of way, and then also run frequent regional rail service. So it's kind of like I'm not really sure.
With the passing of the tax comes the creation of a new transit authority, which will help oversee decisions. Mayor Lyles expects we'll know who will sit on that board fairly soon, suggesting it could be within the next couple of weeks. In South End, Caroline
Okay,
Boyer,
I mean, at least
Queens.
they're going to have somebody oversee. That's exactly what I said. There needs to be somebody to oversee the decisions themselves and make sure, like the money is being spent properly, and also that the projects are being expedited. You know what I'm saying? Like in an efficient manner, because typically, like if you have an authority that's already kind of running the current services, and is planning on extending the current services, it's going to be hard to get somebody to like completely create up a new service like the Red Line. So you end up like having like you're stretching your transit authority too thin. So, maybe. And to hear that there's going to be billions of dollars in the upcoming years, like because of this sales tax, that's pretty promising. That's pretty promising, honestly.
Well, the transit bill that passed last week here in Illinois may be a lifesaver for the CTA Metro.
All right, so let's talk about the other transit bill that just got passed. Unfortunately, PA still is missing a transit bill to get passed, but transit bill here passed in Illinois, so that's pretty good. We'll see like a lot more, maybe not a lot more transit, but maybe a lot more modernization of the transit, specifically around the Chicago area.
And pace, it may also bring a big boost to some communities outside of the Chicago area.
All aboard. Charlie Wojciechowski looks at the potential for a new train line from Chicago to the Quad Cities.
There being no further business to come before the Senate pursuant to House Joint Resolution 47, the Senate stands adjourned.
When the gavel fell early Halloween morning, approving a bailout for Chicago's major transit agencies and helping them avoid a fiscal cliff. There was more in the $1.5 billion 1,000-page transit bill, including funding for projects that could have a big impact downstate.
Ooh, so this is not really downstate. Maryland is not downstate. I think that's how you pronounce it. Moline? I think that's how you pronounce it. Moline isn't really that downstate. It's like kind of off to like the side a little bit of Chicago. It's like down, but not all the way down. So it's not really a far train ride, honestly. But it is really interesting to see that, we're basically expanding Amtrak even more with state partnerships. In my next video on the Northeast Regional, or basically it's the first episode of the Northeast Regional, I'm going to be talking about state partnerships and basically how they've been driving Amtrak, especially when it comes to the Northeast Regional. But it's cool to see like Amtrak Midwest is like also expanding. So we have Moline to Chicago, and that's going to be a thing, which is really cool. It's just like it's going to be more Amtrak like all together, you know, more trains all together. Yeah, so shout out to Illinois.
We care about everyone in this state. Everyone.
One of the biggest, $475 million for a long-awaited passenger train service. Between $475 million for a long...
And it's only $475 million. It's not even that much money, which is interesting. You know, when you think about these intercity passenger rail, like, you know, projects, as long as you have the equipment, which is a little bit of a struggle for Amtrak right now, but as long as you have the equipment, it really isn't that hard of, like, it's not like super expensive. You know, you probably bring like maybe like a couple round trips a day. You know, start off with a couple round trips a day, and then you see where it go from there. You know, you're going to the Quad Cities, which is, you know, it's like just people that live there, which is good. And yeah, but it's like, you know, you're actually going to a destination at the end. So it's like, I feel like, you know, Moline, like the Quad Cities are a very good anchor for this service. And honestly, they really needed this service. So it's good to see it back. But yeah, no, you can see, oh, I'm not sure. What is this? This is the current, or this is what they're going to do, but I don't know what this is. Maybe this is a proposed route? I'm not sure. But yeah, this is really interesting.
Long-awaited passenger train service between Chicago and Moline.
This will be a major boost to our hospitality and tourism industries. It will help us attract more visitors to experience everything that makes this Quad City special.
Money for the Chicago Quad Cities project could help overcome long-standing issues that have stalled the service, like the need for a new connection between the BNSF Railway and the Iowa Interstate Railroad at Wyanett, Illinois, and the installation of positive train control equipment on 53 miles of Iowa Interstate from there to Moline.
The existing
Oh, yeah. And that's true. You do have to implement positive train control to operate the passenger trains, which, you know, that's a little bit of a roadblock. And who knows how difficult that's going to be for Amtrak to, you know, work with the freight railroads to get done. Honestly, freight railroads should just... This is what I always get I'm a little bit confused when freight railroads get upset about a passenger rail service or whatever, knowing that the passenger rail service is going to actually be upgrading their right of way, right? Like either like through grade separations or through like, or just building new infrastructure, right? Like building like replacing rail and stuff like that. You know, concrete ties, all that type of stuff, or even signaling, going down to signaling and just making the right of way safer. It's just weird, like, you know, when you have like a freight company, like, wouldn't you want your system to be safer? But maybe not. Maybe it really is like profits over people. Maybe it really is that much profits over people that it's like you actually get upset when, you know, like the federal government is coming in and they're like, or the state government is coming in and we're like, oh yeah, let's put PTC on the, let's put positive train control on the tracks or whatever. So I don't know.
Equipment on 53 miles of Iowa Interstate from there to Moline.
The existing agreements for engineering and things that have already been entered into with the railroad.
Yeah, now Sunrail, I feel like for that to happen, it really needs, like, again, you see all this stuff, all this Amtrak stuff, Amtrak expansions are coming from the states. So this one is Illinois, and Illinois passed a funding bill for a new Amtrak service, right? Then you have Wisconsin passing an Amtrak bill for the new service. Then you have like, you know what I'm saying? Like it always comes from the states first, at the state level, and your state has to believe in actually funding passenger rail, which is the issue with Florida, where it's like the state doesn't believe in funding passenger rail unless it's like behind the back. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's not visible, then it's okay. So I mean, like for example, right? The state will fund Brightline. Local authorities really, local councils really fund Brightline. Most like local counties and cities really fund Brightline for the most part. And then the state will like do behind the back passes to Brightline. But like very like, but it's like very rare that they do that anyways. But even still, like if it becomes like a public spectacle where it's like, you know, the public is aware that, okay, well, there's going to be new funding for this Brightline service or whatever, then you end up with the governor or whoever at the point in time. It could be a governor, it could be a senator, it could be whoever, and they will be like, I'm actually against it, and they'll turn the public against it, because that's just how Florida works, right? And so that's why Amtrak, when it comes to intercity rail outside of the long distance rail, which is funded completely by the federal government, so the state doesn't have to do anything, it just kind of exists. That's why outside of that, Amtrak won't work in Florida, and neither will Brightline. Nothing will work in Florida unless the state starts to understand that it needs to fund the public transportation. It can't just like sit back and act like nothing's happening. So
those plans came up with a dollar figure. We reached that dollar figure. We believe it's going to get done.
This is Moline's Center Station, where the rail line will make connections to the bus service. The city called the announcement a generational win for Moline and the Quad Cities, one that will transform our region's connectivity, strengthen our local economy, and open new doors.
Yeah, the city of Moline connected to Chicago out of all cities. Like that's such a win. And it's like Moline, all they have to do is probably build a station. I think the station's already there. So they just need to spend a couple, maybe a couple mil. Yeah, maybe a couple mil, probably even less. Maybe 1 million on, just the area around the station. So that's like a platform or something like that. But that's such an easy win for them, So yeah, shout out to Moline.
Doors for years to come.
Today is a day for celebrating because we have secured funding for our train.
My mayors are hot.
Crazy.
You're all going to hear about it.
Not everyone is happy with the measure. Downstate Republicans say it gives too much power to the.
Yeah, I know he's gonna be mad, bro. Because, think about it. Like, you're downstate, right? You're far away from Chicago. In order for downstate Amtrak to work, other states around Illinois have to get on board, right? So at that point, we're talking about getting other states like Missouri on board with actually, getting other states like Missouri on board to actually fund part of the Amtrak expansion so that we can get trains to St. Louis and get trains to Kansas City and stuff like that. Or even it's just I feel kind of bad for those, downstate, even though there really isn't that many people that live down there in downstate Illinois. But I do feel bad because it's you are spending money, but it's helping the state's economy altogether. But I can understand how it could be frustrating when you feel like you're spending a lot of money and you're not actually receiving anything out of it. But they do have what do they have? The Lincoln service. So, they do have that. But maybe that's just not enough.
Chicago area. But for now, it makes real a link to Chicago and the Quad Cities, promised more than 2 decades ago. Charlie Wojciechowski, NBC 5 News.
No, thanks to Charlie.
All right.
Big day for Amtrak.
All right, and now on to our main story. Our main story is Amtrak breaking ground on the Ivy City Yard. So this is going to be where all the Airo train sets are going to be maintenanced. So that's great. We're gonna. Well, I don't think any work has actually been done yet, but they'll explain it a little bit more. Maybe, I don't know. Probably not. But yeah, so the Airo train sets are going to be maintenance here as well. And yeah.
It's breaking ground on a new project in Ivy City that will support the brand new rail cars that will be debuting on the Northeast Corridor in a few years. News First Juliana Valencia joins us live this morning with a closer look at that project. Juliana?
Hey, Erica, look, I got my ticket. Admittedly, this does not get me anywhere, but it does accurately describe the groundbreaking of this $705 million project fully funded by the Federal Railroad Administration. Take a look. It is to make major updates to Ivy City's existing rail yard station, which includes adding on to that brown building you see behind me, along with other major improvements. And they broke ground on this project just a few moments ago. Now, this is part of Amtrak's largest fleet modernization effort in decades.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited for these. I'm excited to look at these. Not really excited to ride them. I mean, unless, no. The seats are probably gonna be the same, which is interesting. I wonder, all right, so I think, what is it, every 15 years maybe? Then you go through a fleet refurbishment. I wonder if the Airos will have their seats completely replaced in 15 years. 15 years from now, will the ride be better and maybe actually the seats actually recline? Because I know part of it is so we can increase capacity on these trains. But if capacity is such a big thing for even the Acellas, even the new Avalia Liberties, and the Airos, it's why not just add more train cars to the actual services? You know what I'm saying? These trains are only going to be 8 cars long, and then 6 cars for when they travel off the corridor, for the Keystone service and all those other types of services. So it really is kind of confusing to me. I know the trains have been depowered, or I don't know, I forgot. I'm trying to remember the word for it. But they have less power than the ACS 64, but have more traction than them. So that's interesting. So I'm not sure if that's why they can't add an additional car to it to make it 9 cars instead of 8. But having 8 cars is just kind of, it's just, I feel like you have a corridor where a lot of people want to travel up and down the corridor, right? The ticket prices are not cheap, right? Because you have a lot of demand. So wouldn't the next option to be to make the trains longer, especially because a lot of the Northeast Corridor has capacity to lengthen the trains. Most of the stations are long enough to have longer trains. So it's just a little bit confusing to me why they don't actually go with that route.
Updates to the yard will make way for Amtrak's new Airo trains set to start service along the Northeast Corridor in 2027. Amtrak says the facility will make train maintenance faster and more efficient, meaning shorter turnaround times and more reliable service for commuters traveling between D.C., New York, Boston, and Virginia. The executive director of the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority shared that while the new Airo trains will be exciting for passengers, it's the updates to the yard that will ensure their success.
What the passengers won't see are the rail yards where the rail equipment will be serviced and
Hey, Virginia Passenger Rail Authority. Okay. I'm surprised. I don't. Are they? Wait, let me see. Breaks ground. Is Virginia paying for this? I'm not sure if Virginia is paying for. I mean, they're paying for it one way or another because the service is extending into Virginia. It is technically a state-run service, but I don't know if they're actually paying for part of the Ivy Yard.
Maintained. And the amenities that are almost more important to those on the train, the reliability and the consistency. Here at Ivy City, which has been a rail yard for almost 200 years, that's where the trains begin and end their journeys. Coaches are cleaned.
Yeah, I agree. Like the fact that we run some northeast corridor trains get up from 9 cars to like 10, and then even like when Amtrak used to have the rolling stock availability, like maybe like 10 years ago, trains can get up to like 12 cars long, you know? And it's just kind of unfortunate that that's not a thing anymore. And now we're going with 8-car trains, you know? It's just not enough. It's definitely not enough, especially when you think about like all the bottlenecks along the corridor. So when we're talking about the BMP tunnel, the Baltimore Potomac tunnel, you have the portal tunnel, the portal tunnels. You have the portal bridge, you know, which is going to be replaced. All this stuff is going to be replaced. But yes, there's still 2 tracks. There's still only 2 tracks, right? And the idea is like, oh, we have so much demand, but we can't, you know, do the demand because we don't have enough rolling stock and we don't have enough capacity on the line or whatever. So then you think that common sense would tell them to just lengthen the trains, but then that's not what they do. They actually make the trains like so much shorter. So that's the part I'm just a little bit confused about.
Cars are stocked, locomotives are serviced, all right behind us. All those things are critical for a good passenger experience.
Improvements to the Ivy City rail yard will open in phases through 2030, and it will remain operational throughout construction. And this isn't the only rail yard getting a major update. Amtrak is updating 6 of its major rail yards, including Boston's, where they plan to break ground tomorrow. Erica?
Juliana Valencia.
Yeah, so Boston also all of them are getting upgrades. This is something you just have to do when you get new equipment. And then also so that, you know, Siemens can service it a little bit better. Yeah, I'm going to be sad to see those amphitheaters go, but at the same time, you know, it's needed. I really want to see those amphitheaters get moved around the system a lot more. So we literally just saw that Chicago to Moline is going to be a new service, right? And so when we're talking about all of these brand new services that Amtrak is expanding, even the Northeast Regional is expanding, right? We're talking about all these expansions to Amtrak. I really want to see that these amphitheaters, right, which should be scrapped or put in a museum at this point, but you know, I'm going to assume that the rest of these states, while they're expanding Amtrak services, aren't really paying for much of the new equipment. So I really want to see that these like amphitheaters get pushed around to those new state-run services. I wonder if we'll ever get a new model of amphitheaters as multiple units or try to yeah, I'm pretty sure what they're going to do, what we're probably going to see is we're probably just going to see another renovation when they get passed over to whatever, maybe a renovation, but another renovation when they get passed on to another state. And probably those states are going to be the states that have just started a new service. Like when we think about Amtrak Mardi Gras or what else? Who else is like starting a new service? Or planning to start new services, you know? Like those are the guys who are gonna see new the trains get pushed around a lot more. But there's a real lack of intercity rail cars in the U.S. right now, and so that's probably where like all these cars are going to get shifted around towards those to fill those gaps essentially until they get retired after America gets completely bought out by Siemens. But yeah, let's go over to New York. I think is this? No, we got 2 more stories after this. So we're going over to New York. We're going to talk about the Penn Access Project. Penn Access Project is along the Northeast Corridor. It is bringing 4 new stations to the 4 new Metro North stations, the regional rail service around New York City. It's bringing 4 new stations to that corridor and connecting that service, connecting Metro North with Penn Station, which is great. It's the first time that will ever happen. It's been done the reverse way, where Amtrak has gone into Grand Central Station, but hasn't been done going this way. So this project is delayed a little bit because of federal funding and because of, well, yeah, that's it. But you know, the state is still powering through with the project. The project will be delayed. The project was supposed to open in 2027, but will probably open in 2027, but be only half built. I think they're going to open it up in stages so that instead of 4 stations, only 3 stations will be built, and those stations won't be built all the way. They'll probably be like maybe like a side platform or the island. You know, like they're going to basically build it Brightline style, where you just kind of open the platform up and the basic station amenities, and then you continuously like build as the service is already going, which I think is the way that we should be doing all of our rail projects, honestly. But yeah, so they're gonna be doing that, and yeah, let's see what else they have to say.
For now, the Amtrak trains just fly by. Along the way in the Bronx, construction crews are building 4 new stations. An MTA project called Penn Access will put Metro North trains on the Amtrak tracks and connect Penn Station to the New Haven line.
I've never had problems with the Metro North going upstate or anything like that, so I'm good with it.
Sherry lives near one of the 4 new stations under construction in Parkchester. The structure is rising above the tracks.
I was like, that's pretty quick, because
This is pretty quick. I'm not gonna lie. This is pretty quick. I didn't expect them to even be this far. If you've seen the renderings, like the renderings of the stations look really nice, honestly. Especially like Metro North stations, they look really nice. So the fact that they already have like the tower up for the elevator, and then they got the stairs up. And then they have the frame of the building, which it really is just like, this is what the station is basically gonna look like. You have the frames, and then all of it's gonna be like glass. It's like very modernist. Well, not like modernist, but postmodernist aesthetic. I think that is. But yeah.
I hadn't even seen them working there.
Pix 11 News takes a look along the tracks and the work sites. 4 new.
Yeah, the renderings make the station look like an Apple store. It really does look like an Apple store, though. And you can see that's the vibe that they've been basically going with the entire time.
Tracks.
I was like, that's pretty quick, because I hadn't even seen them working there.
Pix 11 News takes a look along the tracks and the work sites. 4 new stations are under construction at different levels of progress. At the location in Co-op City, crews are building platforms. The Morris Park Station is located next to busy hospital complexes. It's moving along. The Hunts Point location is also underway. But some scheduling delays and conflicts are interfering with the original timeline. It was supposed to be open by 2027. But full service may not happen until 2030. The MTA had a warning at the October Capitol construction meeting.
We can fight it out with Amtrak in arbitration. That is going to happen. We shouldn't be focused on that. What we should be focused on is Amtrak going to agree to let us start service in 2027? That's what this fight.
Bro, the battle between Amtrak and the MTA has been brutal. It has been ongoing, no matter whether it's if it's Amtrak versus Long Island Railroad or Amtrak versus Metro North. It's just bad. It's just all bad. The fact that Amtrak is extending the Northeast Regional along Long Island to Ronkonkoma. It's just like, what is going on? It's just, there needs to be more cooperation between the two, but they're always at each other's necks. I know Amtrak is always at each other's necks with everybody along the corridor, not just the MTA. And I think, kind of think that this is why the MTA won't sell off. And this is what I think should honestly happen. The MTA should sell off their the corridor between the Connecticut border and what's that, New Rochelle. They should sell it off between the Connecticut border and New Rochelle and just hand it off to Amtrak, because that part of the corridor, the service speed is extremely slow. It's like 70 miles an hour, and the track condition is horrible for like an actual intercity rail service, or even if you ride on the Acela on that portion of the service, it's extremely bumpy, and Amtrak can't really do much to upgrade it other than just send them money. And so I feel like, they should probably sell that part of the corridor off, but it's probably not going to happen because I think the MTA is kind of like holding that part of the corridor as leverage over Amtrak a little bit. So, yeah, it's just all weird. Everything's just, the politics with it is just really, really strange.
Fight is really about right now.
MTA planners and Amtrak are working it out. In the meantime, the MTA thinks there is a way to have some preliminary service in 2 years at 3 of the stations, with just a quarter of the Metro North trains running. Riders are waiting to ride.
Let's get it on and let's get it going. We're excited for it. We're ready for it to come. And I think that it'll make commuting for New York City residents a lot more easier.
Amtrak officials say they've renewed their commitment to this. They've been participating.
See, Amtrak officials have renewed their commitment to it. It's like, well, I don't really know. But then it's like, well, I guess they are like funding the rest of the investment. It's just the back and forth is literally what you said, Sunrail. It's like they're literally beating each other to death, like constantly. And part of it, the reason why they're doing it is because they are both they have severe financial difficulties, right? Both of them are underfunded, or both of them are underfunded. And so this is what happens. You kind of start fighting over the little things, and then the little things turn into the big things, and it just keeps on escalating. So that's the unfortunate part about what we have here.
Also added in $140 million to the project. People are blaming red tape and bureaucracy. They all want to cut through this, get some temporary service. The MTA could pursue legal action as well. In the Parkchester neighborhood of the Bronx, Greg Mocker, Pix 11 News.
Metro Transit is making a new big investment in light rail service.
The agency
okay, let's see. So now we're going to go over to, we exited the Northeast Corridor. We're going to talk about 2 more light rail projects, and then that stream. We have Metro, which is Metro Transit, which is over in Minneapolis. And of course, they're having their new Green Line extension. And because of their Green Line extension, they need to hire more employees. So they're going to hire and train more operators, which is great to see, because also that means increased service levels. More jobs also, especially right now when the unemployment rate is kind of bad. So it's always nice to see that we're hiring people again in society.
Just announced it's approaching the highest number of rail operators it's ever had, and that means it can offer more service.
Brett Hoffland asked leadership at Metro Transit if ridership numbers are keeping up to add all these positions.
Rio 17 Bravo, radio check.
One of the newest Metro Transit train operators.
I was excited. I did the interview. I cannot believe so I was hired. And so far, so good.
And one of their instructors.
It's very, very nice to be able to be helping people and showing them how to do this job.
They're part of the more than 120 fully trained operators, with more on the way.
We're approaching that high water mark ever in the history of light rail operations.
This month, Metro Transit added train service earlier in the morning. Metro Transit COO Brian Funk tells me right now they're looking at adding more service in the evening.
When you spread it out across all 7 days, takes quite a few people, but that combined with all of the testing that we're doing on the new Green Line extension is going to set us up really well to offer more service.
Ridership has rebounded slightly on the Green and Blue lines since the pandemic, but it's still nowhere close to what it was before 2020. Does the ridership that you're seeing warrant a lot more of these hires?
Yeah, I think it does. We're in it for the long haul.
This gives you a better sense of current ridership. The most recent data on the Green Line.
Dang, that ridership drop off after COVID was crazy. I mean, they were doing really well. And then, oh man, that is a far drop. You lose 50,000 riders, then you start kind of going up a little bit. I don't know why it's going down. I don't know what this is. I don't know why this is. Most transit agencies aren't going down, but I think this is going to go up. This boost in ridership is going to go up. Actually, maybe this might be because of I know a lot of transit authorities, transit agencies. They had that COVID funding from the Biden administration between this period of time, and essentially it's like extra funding, so it's like you can at least run a skeleton service if you're really struggling that much. And I think a lot of that funding starts wearing out, and so once you get around to maybe 2023, most agencies started running out of that funding and then started picking into their actual stuff. And so you'll see with a lot of transit agencies, they'll start dipping around here if they haven't found a sustainable funding source while they were in this 3-year period. And yeah, that might be the case right here. I'm not really sure. But because the Green Line will be extended further south, to just a completely new area, I'm sure that this ridership might not get back up to 50,000, but probably might be hitting 35,000 or something like that.
Shows about 20,000 weekday rides, compared to as many as 50,000 in 2019. How would you assess where ridership is right now?
Yeah, I think what we're still doing is still responding to where do people want the most service.
We are bringing Metro back to what it formerly was.
That's instructor and operator Shane Wilbur. Metro Transit recently added training staff to expand class sizes. Slaman Imadushen recently graduated.
So at first it was a little bit intimidating because how big it is.
As the team here grows, Funk is optimistic the demand will be there.
As a system, we're going to go through these ebbs and flows, but we're a good bet for the long haul, and so we're going to continue to lean in on that.
In Minneapolis, Brett Hoffland, 5 Eyewitness News.
Yeah, that's a W right there. That's exactly how you should do it. There's a whole minute left in this video. I didn't know that.
News.
Metro Transit is counting on a ridership boost from 2 of the largest public works projects in Minnesota history.
And as we've been telling you, this comes at a huge cost to taxpayers. The Green Line extension, better known as Southwest Light Rail, has been plagued by delays and huge cost overruns.
The light rail line from Minneapolis to Eden Prairie is projected to cost $2.86 billion. They've already started testing trains on part of the new line, and project managers say that service will open sometime in 2027.
And at the same time, Hennepin County and the Met Council are planning to build the Blue Line extension, running trains north to Brooklyn Park. That project will cost even more, a projected $3.2 billion. At least that's the number today. But there are still questions about whether the federal government will cover part of the price tag.
Well, I think this the blue line. The blue line. No, it doesn't. Never mind. That's the green line. Well, you know, if they complete this planning stage right now and find some of the funding, and then go into actually building the project directly after they finish, completely finish, even doing like the finishing touches and stuff like that of the Green Line extension, then that would be great, because they would basically be, you know, you can actually save money on consultants and stuff like that. You won't need to like hire outside consultants and stuff, because basically you already have maintained a lot of the expertise. And that's what's good about when you're consistently investing in infrastructure, you maintain that expertise. The people who worked on one project just move to the next project. And yeah, so that I feel like, you know, as the sooner they get this project up and running, or like into construction phase, the better. All right.
This is the
last but not least, we have talking about Sound Transit. This is a video from Sound Transit themselves, and they're going to talk about how they built the world's first rail floating bridge, which is what has been plaguing the Line 2 project for a while. But, you know, to be the first to do something is always going to be a bumpy road, you know? So let's see exactly what they have to say.
first light rail on a floating bridge anywhere in the world.
We were trying something for the first time, and we needed to make it work.
It took a lot of grit, and there's a lot of trial and error as you go through a project like this.
When we face these challenges, there's always the temptation to say, hey, oh, we can't do it like that. Well, maybe we can.
The Homer M. Hadley Memorial Bridge stretches more than a mile across Lake Washington, connecting thousands of people every day between Seattle and East Side communities. Adding light rail on the floating bridge? Now that's a game changer.
I think of each light rail extension as
Ooh, I like how they did that. That was cool. How they were going back and forth between all the different lines. That was cool.
Adding light rail on the floating bridge? Now that's a game changer.
I think of each light rail extension as a jewel, because once it opens, the community responds so quickly and so well. My name is Ron Lewis, and from 2012 to 2018, I was Executive Project Director of the Eastlink project. One thing that was missing was the gem of those jewels, the Cross Lake connection. And that's what this project provides, a high-capacity transit link and connection to the east side.
But long before light rail construction began on the bridge, engineering experts spent years designing innovative solutions for several unique challenges.
There were definitely a lot of challenges. My name's John Slavin. I'm a civil engineer, and I worked on this project for over a decade.
The first challenge was weight limitations on the I-90 floating bridge. Too much weight could cause water intrusion.
We're adding a whole bunch of weight to this bridge. Not only the trains, but we're adding the rails that go onto it, the concrete plinths, the overhead catenary system. So we had to figure out how to mitigate that.
We also had to reimagine the way we typically install rail.
On this bridge, we couldn't drill into those because it had all these cables. And if we snap some of those cables, then you hurt the structural integrity of the bridge.
Plus, running electric trains means the potential for stray current on the bridge.
We need to make sure that that electrical current stayed between the rails and the overhead wire, because if it leaks out, it can cause corrosion.
And then there's movement. The rails needed a certain amount of flexion while also being connected to a fixed point on land.
So really these 3 different motions means there were 6 different angles of inflection that those rails would have to accommodate.
After years of research and testing, here's what our engineers designed. Instead of using standard rail, lighter rail saves weight on the bridge. These rails were then set on about 9,000 concrete blocks, which were designed to be lighter and smaller as well.
The concrete plinths that we built, we used what's called light-weight aggregate, try to keep those plinths, those concrete blocks, as short as possible.
And instead of drilling holes into the bridge surface, we attached the blocks with an extremely strong adhesive.
We used a material called Dex G, which really glues it on really well.
Then, a plastic drip cap on top of each block further protects the bridge from stray current.
So any water that came down and hit that block would then have to drip, so there wouldn't be a continuous flow of water that would come from the rail onto the bridge deck.
In total, engineers incorporated more than 10 different design elements to protect the bridge from any potential stray current. And of course, there was the monumental challenge of taking a train from solid land onto a floating bridge.
Trains are on a fixed rail. If they're all bent at just one point, they would snap. So we had to take that point displacement and spread it over a longer distance. Think of an uncooked spaghetti. If you bend it at one point, it'll snap. If you take that whole spaghetti and kind of bend it back and forth, it can do a lot of flexing. And the steel rails are a lot like that. Spread that over a larger distance. And we did that by a system called a track bridge.
There are 8 track bridges. Using existing technology to...
I'm not gonna lie, they're killing this editing. They're killing the animations. They're going crazy.
Steel rails are a lot like that. Spread that over a larger distance. And we did that by a system called a track bridge.
There are 8 track bridges. Using existing technology to solve a completely new challenge, the track bridges rely on design components used in retrofitting buildings for earthquakes. Before construction, we put the designs to the test with full-scale models in Pueblo, Colorado.
We had 10,000 sensors on the trains and on the tracks. And at the end of that, it's like, wow, it worked. It's really wonderful.
The team is really everything. And this has been an extraordinary group of people. It's kind of like a relay race. You do your part, and then you're passing it on to the next group so that they can do their part.
Collaboration is key to any large, complex project, but when you're doing a first-in-the-world type of a project, it's absolutely essential. Sometimes in construction, the designer and the contractor and the owner can kind of be in our own corners, but it really shows how when we come together, we can do great things. It is achievable, but the strength of that partnership is so much greater when we work together, having these great relationships, being transparent, getting to that platform of trust so we can solve these big complex issues. And I think this project is a great example of how we did that.
Once construction is completed, the final stage before opening is meticulous testing.
We're testing everything with increasing levels of complexity to make sure that ultimately we can transport our passengers across the lake on a brand new light rail train. Our team makes sure that the intent is met, making sure that from the different disciplines, the traction power, the train control, the communications, the structures, everything is working individually as it should.
And that every individual component and system works together as a whole. After hundreds of hours of testing, the Cross Lake Connection will open in 2026, transforming how we move around the region for generations to come.
My favorite part of the job is seeing at the end of it the people riding the train. The difference that we make into people's lives.
I'm probably luckier than I am smart. And just to have been in the right place at the right time to work with some incredible people. We said, never been done before, let's do it.
How can we use existing infrastructure to continue to expand transit? That's really the key here. And floating bridge is just one piece of that.
I'm very proud. I'm also humbled by what the art of the possible is when people get together and work together. And when your job is to connect people, we're really creating community and then connecting communities. And to me, that's priceless.
Yeah, they killed that. That was really good. That was really good. I'm not gonna lie, I should probably start watching more transit agency stuff instead of the news stuff. It's kind of going from really, I'm not gonna lie, poorly edited news stuff to going to this is just like, wow. It's refreshing. It's definitely refreshing. All comments are turned off. I can't see anything. Oh well. Yeah. Anyways, we're gonna end the stream on that. Yeah. I'm basically building up a stockpile of videos now, which I'll probably get to after December, maybe. I don't know. I don't know when these are gonna be posted. But yeah. So W stream, everybody. W stream. And I'll see you guys